She had it all: a loyal husband, beautiful kids, and a life most people dream of, until she gave it up for a rich man who didn't love her back. My name is Julia, and for most of my life, I thought I had it all. Not just in the cliché way people say that, but in the literal sense. I had the perfect husband, 2 beautiful kids, and a life that people envied from the outside at least. Michael, my husband, wasn't just a hardworking man. He was successful. He owned a booming construction and real estate business in Texas. Everyone knew him. Even people outside our city knew the name Michael Carter. He started from nothing and built an empire before turning 40. That kind of rise made people admire him. Some feared him. Some envied him. I loved him. We lived in a modern 2-story home in a gated community. It had the kind of kitchen you only see on Instagram reels, a backyard with a pool and stone fire pit, and a walk-in closet bigger than most New York apartments. I had a full-time housekeeper, weekly salon appointments, and my mornings were filled with yoga, matcha lattes, and PDA meetings. I didn't need to work. Michael never wanted me to. "Your job is this family," he used to say, kissing me on the forehead before rushing off to a meeting. And for a long time, that was enough. Our kids, Aiden and Chloe, were everything to us. We picked the best private school in the area. We had yearly family trips: Disneyland, Europe, Hawaii. There were Christmases where we spent thousands just to see their eyes light up. I remember one winter when Michael surprised us with a week-long ski resort vacation. We didn't just live well. We lived in a way that felt untouchable. And the truth is, I genuinely loved Michael. He was kind, thoughtful, always made time for us, even when he was swamped with work. He'd show up for Chloe's recitals in a 3-piece suit, straight from a business pitch. He never missed Aiden's baseball games. He'd bring dinner home when I didn't feel like cooking. And he never made me feel like I owed him anything for the life we had. We were that couple, the ones people pointed at in public. How are they always so happy? Must be nice having it all. And for a while we really did. But life doesn't ask for permission before it turns on you. It didn't happen overnight. That's what made it harder to grasp. Michael's business had been thriving for over a decade, but construction and real estate can be unpredictable. A few deals started falling through. Permits got delayed. Suppliers backed out. Then a major client, a commercial development that was supposed to carry the company's finances through the next year, pulled out without warning. I still remember the night Michael sat on the edge of our bed, rubbing his face in his hands, and whispered, "We might need to tighten things up for a while." That was the first real warning sign. At first, I thought he was overreacting. Tighten things up still didn't sound like anything serious. So we skipped the vacation that year. Then he let go of a few employees. Still manageable, still fixable. Michael had always been the guy who found a way. But the wall kept stretching longer and longer. We sold the second SUV. We downgraded our club memberships. He let go of our housekeeper. My salon visits became less frequent, and I started shopping more at discount stores than boutiques. It wasn't about the luxury. I'm not that shallow, but it was the change that unsettled me. The shift from feeling secure to feeling fragile. Michael started working longer hours, but bringing in less money. I watched the man who once walked into rooms with confidence start avoiding eye contact with people he used to do business with. The man who once made decisions in boardrooms was now taking handyman jobs to keep things afloat. And with every bill that came in, with every sacrifice we made, something shifted inside me too. I started to feel anxious, embarrassed, and eventually resentful. That's when Derek came back into the picture. He and Michael had been best friends in college. While Michael built his business brick by brick, Derek went the finance route: stock trading, venture capital, crypto, you name it. He was flashy, loud, the kind of guy who always had a new car, a different watch, a better story. We hadn't seen him much over the years, but once word got out that Michael was struggling, he suddenly became very present. He started showing up with expensive gifts for the kids, acting like the fun uncle. He insisted on covering dinner every time we went out. "Don't argue with me," he'd grin, handing his black card to the waiter. "You guys paid enough times back in the day." At first, I appreciated it. Then I started to feel ashamed. Michael never said anything, but I saw it in his eyes. The way he flinched when Derek cracked jokes about how dry the market is or how some guys aren't meant to manage money. I wanted to believe Derek meant well, but deep down, I knew he was enjoying the imbalance. And I hated how good it felt when he looked at me. He noticed things, my earrings, my new haircut, the way I painted my nails. Michael used to notice those things too, but lately his mind was elsewhere. Bills, creditors, the mortgage, school tuition. It was like watching a man slowly drown, and I got tired of trying to throw him a rope. One night, we had dinner at Derek's penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows, wine that cost more than our grocery bill for a month, and laughter that sounded too easy, too forced. As we left, he walked me to the car while Michael helped the kids in. He looked at me, really looked, and said, "You weren't meant for this life, Julia." I should have laughed it off. I should have shut it down. But I didn't. I just stood there with my hands folded, pretending I didn't feel something shift. It wasn't planned. That's what people always assume, that cheating is this conscious, premeditated betrayal. But it wasn't like that. It was slower, sneakier. It crept in like a fog, so quiet that by the time I realized I couldn't see clearly, I'd already wandered too far. It started with texts. At first, they were harmless. Derek would send jokes about the kids, funny memes, or links to things he thought I'd like. Designer shoes, home decor ideas, even articles about surviving economic downturns that felt a little too pointed. Then came the late-night messages. "You up? Can't sleep. Miss talking to you." I'd tell myself not to respond. Sometimes I didn't. But more often than not, I did. Not with anything flirty, at least not at first. I just responded. Because it felt good to be acknowledged. Desired. Wanted. Michael, by then, was barely sleeping. He'd come home late, eyes heavy, shoulders slumped, hands cracked from working construction jobs far beneath his skill level. Sometimes he'd fall asleep on the couch in his work clothes. Other nights, he'd stay up researching ways to save the business. We barely touched. We barely spoke. And I stopped trying. The night I crossed the line, it was raining. Michael had picked up a last-minute roofing job an hour away. He wouldn't be home until midnight. The kids were at my mother's for the weekend. I was home alone, curled up on the couch with a glass of wine, and a movie I wasn't watching. I felt empty, unseen, unloved. Then Derek texted, "I'm downstairs. Come talk to me. Just 5 minutes." I don't know why I went. Maybe I needed to feel in control. Maybe I just didn't want to feel forgotten for one more night. I got in his car, and he looked at me like I was the most beautiful woman in the world. He told me I didn't deserve to be living this way, that I'd been loyal long enough, that I had earned more than stress and sacrifice. I didn't push him away when he kissed me. I didn't stop him when we drove to his place. I didn't leave when the wine turned to hands and hands turned to skin. And when it was over, I didn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling, chest hollow, heart numb. Somewhere deep inside me, I knew I had destroyed something that couldn't be fixed. But I told myself I'd already lost it long ago. The affair didn't end there. It became a routine. Quiet. Scheduled. Sometimes it was in the middle of the day when the kids were at school and Michael was working. Sometimes at night, after Michael passed out from exhaustion. I told myself I deserved this. That I needed it. That I wasn't hurting anyone. But I was. Michael noticed. Of course he did. He may have been buried in debt and stress, but he wasn't blind. I saw it in the way he looked at me. Less like a partner, more like a stranger who'd taken over his wife's body. He didn't accuse me, though. He never shouted or searched my phone. That would have been easier, maybe. At least it would have broken the silence. Instead, one night, over a plate of microwaved leftovers, he simply asked, "Is it Derek?" I couldn't lie. I didn't have the strength. I just nodded. He didn't speak. He just got up, walked into the living room, and sat down. I followed, waiting for something, anger, heartbreak, anything. But all he said was, "You don't even know what you've done." And the truth was, I didn't. Not yet. The divorce didn't take long. Michael didn't fight. He didn't beg. He didn't even try to reason with me. He just agreed. Quietly, like a man who'd already buried his grief and was too tired to dig it up again. There were no screaming matches, no custody battles, no lawyers going back and forth. He gave me the house, let me keep the car, and agreed to joint custody. When I asked him why he wasn't contesting anything, he simply said, "You made your choice. I'm just making peace with it." A week after the papers were signed, I moved into Derek's world. It was like stepping onto another planet. Penthouse views, imported marble counters, meals delivered by chefs, weekend getaways in private jets. I started dressing differently, speaking differently. Derek took me to exclusive events where women sized me up with glossy smiles and men talked to me like I was an accessory. At first, I felt powerful.
Free.
I was no longer the exhausted wife of a failing man. I was the partner of someone important, someone whose name opened doors and silenced rooms. But something strange happened the more I settled into that life. I started disappearing. Derek liked me dressed up, polished, quiet. He didn't care about my opinions unless they mirrored his. When I spoke about the kids, he nodded politely, then changed the subject. He never asked about my past, never wanted to hear about my childhood or family. Everything that mattered to me felt irrelevant to him. And I hated admitting it, but I missed Michael. I missed his terrible dad jokes. His weird obsession with DIY YouTube channels. The way he used to run his fingers through my hair while we watched TV. The man who loved me before I was broken. But I had made my bed. And Derek? Slowly, the mask began to crack. He started staying out later. Answering fewer texts. Coming home with perfume on his collar that wasn't mine. I confronted him once, and he just shrugged. "You knew what this was, Julia. You think I want to be tied down to someone who ditched her husband the second things got hard?" That line hit me like a car crash. He didn't even try to deny it. Didn't even care. I realized then that I was never special to him. I was a convenience. A momentary thrill. A woman too blind to see she was being used because she wanted to feel chosen again. By the third month, he'd all but ghosted me. He stopped inviting me to events. Stopped calling. Eventually, he told me he needed space. And just like that, I was out. I stood in that cold penthouse, surrounded by everything I thought I wanted, and felt emptier than I ever had in my entire life. I had destroyed my marriage, lost my best friend, and given up the only man who ever truly loved me, for a man who saw me as disposable. And now I was alone. After Derek cut me off, I had nowhere to go. The house I once called home was sold. The money from the divorce was already drying up. I hadn't worked in over a decade. No savings. No real plan. Just shame. I moved into a small, two-bedroom apartment with outdated fixtures and stained carpets. My closet went from high-end brands to thrift store basics. The mirror didn't lie. I was thinner, paler, older, and emptier. But what hit hardest wasn't the poverty. It was the loneliness. The silence in that apartment was brutal. There were no footsteps, no laughter, no humming dishwasher at night. Just me, the ticking clock, and the sound of regret. The kids came on weekends. They were polite but distant. Aiden used to run into my arms. Now he gave me a side hug and asked when he could go back to Dad's. Chloe barely spoke at all. She just sat on the couch with her tablet, occasionally glancing at me with a quiet sadness in her eyes that cut deeper than words ever could. Michael never poisoned them against me, but they understood. Kids always do. Then one day, something happened that shook me more than any of Derek's betrayals ever could. I went to drop off the kids early and saw her. Michael was standing outside his new home, smaller, modest, but warm-looking, next to a woman. She was helping Chloe with her backpack and laughing about something Aiden said. She didn't look flashy. She looked kind.
Real.
The kids loved her. That was clear. Michael looked good. Not just physically, though he'd clearly started taking care of himself again, but emotionally. There was peace in his eyes. A steadiness I hadn't seen in years. And when he looked at her, it was the kind of look I used to crave. He didn't notice me sitting in the car across the street. But I saw everything. And I stayed there long after they'd gone inside. That night, I drank wine from a cheap bottle and stared at the ceiling for hours. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger at Derek. I didn't feel bitterness at Michael. I didn't even feel sorry for myself. I just felt the truth. I had it all, and I destroyed it. I traded love for lust, stability for vanity, family for fantasy. And now, I was just surviving. A few weeks later, I left a voicemail on Michael's phone. I don't want to bother you. I needed to say I'm sorry. Not to fix anything. I know I don't deserve that. I hope you're happy. He never called back. And I didn't expect him to. Because sometimes you can't take things back. Sometimes sorry comes too late. And sometimes the real punishment isn't losing someone, it's watching them thrive without you. Some mistakes leave scars too deep to heal, and some lessons come when it's already too late. Julia thought she was chasing freedom, but she lost everything that ever mattered. And Michael? He didn't need revenge. His peace was the loudest answer of all. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, sometimes the ones we take for granted are the ones we'll miss forever. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life tales.